The first fighter pilot had no radio, no radar, no missile that could kill from 20 miles away. A man in an open cockpit, reading wind and instinct, with nothing between him and his enemy but distance and nerve. The story of the fighter pilot is not a story about courage. It is a story about technology consuming the man. 20 pilots, 100 years, the myth they built, and the machine that ended it. Before there was a Red Baron, there was the man who taught him. Oswald Boelcke did not just fly. He invented the rules of how to fly in combat. The Dicta Boelcke: attack from above, use the sun, fire from close range, break off into cloud. The fundamentals that every pilot on this list would follow. He dies on October 28, 1916, not in battle, but in a mid-air collision with his own wingman. He was 25. Manfred von Richthofen paints his aircraft red so his squadron can identify him instantly in the chaos of the sky. He flies over 400 missions. He waits for altitude, sun angle, position, then closes to under 50 meters before firing. 80 confirmed victories. He dies on April 21, 1918, from a single ground round. The most successful pilot of the First World War is killed by someone he never saw. René Fonck never wastes a bullet. 75 confirmed victories. Some sources claim over 120, achieved with an average of 15 rounds per kill, where others burned through hundreds. He flies alone, plans with mathematical precision, and avoids unnecessary risk. He survives without a single wound. The French call him arrogant. They are not entirely wrong. He is also extraordinary. Billy Bishop's most famous mission, a solo dawn raid on a German airfield on June 2, 1917, earns him the Victoria Cross. It also earns him permanent suspicion. 72 victories, many without witnesses. The question of what actually happened that morning follows him to his grave in 1956. In war, the man who needs no witnesses is either the most dangerous or the most convenient. Edward Manock hates the war. He trains his pilots carefully, shares victories with beginners to build their confidence, and fears above all else death by fire. 61 confirmed kills, possibly over 70. He is awarded the Victoria Cross posthumously. On July 26, 1918, his aircraft is hit by ground fire. It burns as it falls. The man who feared the fire most died in it. Ernst Udet survives the First World War with 62 kills and a love of flight that peace cannot contain. He becomes a stunt pilot, a film star. Then the Nazis find him and make him Director General of Equipment, a bureaucratic role in a bureaucratic war. He is brilliant in a cockpit and lost behind a desk. On November 17, 1941, he shoots himself. The war he survived destroys him in the years after. Erich Hartmann's call sign is Karaya 1, 352 confirmed victories across approximately 1,400 sorties, the highest total in the history of air combat. He attacks from under 30 meters, often closer. He is never hit by enemy fire. After the war, the Soviets imprison him for 10 years, forced labor, torture. He returns in 1955. He dies in 1993. The record has never been broken. Gerhard Barkhorn reaches 301 victories, the second highest total in the history of air combat, not in a single brilliant campaign, but across years of grinding work over the Eastern Front. Wounded multiple times, returns each time. He survives the war, joins the Bundesluftwaffe. On January 8, 1983, he dies in a car accident near Cologne, not in the sky, on the Autobahn. Günter Rahl breaks his spine in a crash in 1943 and spends months in rehabilitation. He returns to the cockpit. 275 victories across more than 800 sorties. Shot down 3 times. He ends the war, becomes a general, represents West Germany at NATO, and lives until 2009. What survives a broken spine and 3 shootdowns is harder to name than rank. Heinz Baer openly contradicts his superiors and does not care. 220 victories across 1,000 sorties. Shot down 18 times. He flies the Me-262, the world's first operational jet fighter, and adds 16 jet kills to his total. On April 28, 1957, his aircraft enters a flat spin from 50 meters at an air show over Braunschweig. There is no recovery from 50 meters. North Africa, September 1, 1942. Hans-Joachim Marseille scores 17 kills in a single day, under 10 hours. No other pilot in history matched that. He is 22 years old. He flies only over the desert, only in the Bf-109, and his tactics are unlike anyone else's. He attacks from angles other pilots consider impossible. September 30, 1942. His engine catches fire. He bails out successfully. The tail strikes him as he exits. He dies before he reaches the ground. Ivan Kozhedub flies from Stalingrad to Berlin. 62 confirmed victories, the highest total of any Allied pilot in the Second World War. Never shot down. 3 times hero of the Soviet Union. The propaganda uses his face, his personality. They keep in the background. He secretly flies the MiG-15 in Korea. He dies in Moscow in 1991, the same year his country ceases to exist. The first pilot in history to reach 250 confirmed kills, achieved on October 14, 1943. It earns him the Knight's Cross. In 1944, he is given command of his own commando, the first operational jet fighter unit in history, flying the Me-262, the future of air combat. On November 8, 1944, his jet is hit while returning to base. He attempts an emergency landing. The aircraft crashes short of the runway. He is 23 years old. Joseph McConnell's call sign is Beauteous Butch. 16 victories in just 4 months. The most successful American pilot of the Korean War. Aggressive, risk-taking, relentless. He survives the war and returns home. On August 25, 1954, he dies testing an F-86H in peacetime. The sky that spared him in combat does not spare him on a test flight. James Jabara, son of Lebanese immigrants, becomes the first jet ace in history on May 20, 1951. 5 kills in the F-86 Sabre over Korea. 15 confirmed total. The ground controller tells him where. Jabara tells his trigger when. He survives 2 wars, rises to colonel, and dies in a car accident in Florida in 1966. The sky spares him. The ground does not. Nikolai Sutyagin flies under a foreign flag. A Soviet pilot in a MiG-15 wearing North Korean markings, guided by radar, concealed by politics. 21 confirmed victories, acknowledged only after the Cold War ends. He fights in a war that officially, for him, does not exist. His name appears in documents 40 years after the armistice. He dies in 1986 in relative anonymity. Yevgeny Pepelyayev achieves 19 confirmed jet victories, possibly more, flying under Chinese markings in a Soviet aircraft, speaking only Russian over the radio. An open secret that neither side officially acknowledges for decades. He lives to 95, outlasting the empire that sent him. His war lasts 4 decades longer than the armistice that ended it. Nguyen Van Kock flies the MiG-21 for North Vietnam. 9 confirmed victories, the highest of any pilot in the entire conflict. He never dogfights. He follows ground radar, attacks from ambush, retreats immediately into SAM coverage. Hit and run. He is the most successful pilot of the Vietnam War precisely because he refuses to fight the way pilots used to fight. He dies in 2023, aged 80. Randy Cunningham's call sign is Duke. 5 victories in the F-4 Phantom, all with RIO Willie Driscoll, never alone. On May 10, 1972, they shoot down 3 MiGs in a single day. Then their Phantom is hit by a SAM. They eject over the Gulf of Tonkin and are rescued. He later becomes a congressman. Then he is convicted of corruption. The sky was considerably kinder to him than the ground. Robin Olds flies the P-38 and P-51 in World War II. 13 kills. Then the F-4 Phantom in Vietnam, 4 more. 17 across 2 wars and 3 decades. His call sign is Scat. His mustache violates regulations. He's one of the last men who understands both worlds, the duel and the system, and uses the myth of the lone fighter one final time, consciously, as a tool of leadership. He dies in 2007. Jalil Zandi flies the F-14 Tomcat for the Iranian Air Force during the Iran-Iraq War, the last major conflict where pilots still hunted each other the old way. 11 confirmed kills. The most successful F-14 pilot in history. He flies against Soviet-supplied MiGs over Persian Gulf airspace in an aircraft built for American carriers, for a revolution that overthrew the government that bought it. He dies in a training accident in 2001, the last ace of the last dogfight war. Cesar Rodriguez's call sign is Rico. 3 confirmed kills. 2 in the 1991 Gulf War, 1 over Kosovo in 1999. All 3 beyond visual range. Radar, AWACS, AIM 7. He never sees any of them with his eyes. The last American ace. He retires in 2006. No one will ever break his record, because the machines that replaced him don't need call signs. Rhory Draeger's call sign is Hoser. On January 26, 1991, a MiG-23 appears as a symbol on his radar screen over the Iraqi desert. AWACS clears the shot. He fires an AIM 7 Sparrow. The MiG disappears from the screen. He never sees it with his eyes. 1 confirmed kill. The last entry in a ledger that began with Richthofen firing from 10 meters.